Hello folks, how you doing? Yeah, I know it's been quite a while. Old Truth Speaker coming back at you. And this video have two parts, but it's going to be short, sweet. And I'm going to just jump right into it. Now, the fear of Donald Trump and the rise and the attacks on blacks and other minority groups has risen to the point of national alarm. Muslim women being brutalized, Asian women and men being brutalized, children being made fun of in school, blacks and Hispanic men were being shot as always, so that's nothing new with them being targeted, racist attacks, in the fear and the rise of different white militia and racist and hate groups has given rise to men, multi-ethnic militia is what I'm hearing. But you do have a lot of different ethnic groups building militias in response to the white militia that's really the number is really risen since Barack Obama. But the thing is, I'm not even talking about that. We're going to get into that later. But the thing is, guns since the last vid I made over a week ago, guns, blacks and other minorities are cleaning themselves off with guns, and you can't blame them. But the big question is, why doesn't the NRA support blacks and other minority groups with guns, especially black? Why doesn't now me myself, like I said, I've had many relatives and uncles in World War II. One December 7th, 1941. Why don't the National Rifle Association? Nobody in my family. See, I'm going to put this out like this. Most of what you see in the media is an outright lie. Why? J.M. Miller on YouTube hit the nail on the head. One thing, we have to understand it from this point of view. The black races, the African American race is not busting out at the seams. We're not overpopulated. We're dwindling fast. We were 13.3% of the population. Now we're only 12.2% of the population. Do you understand? Tavis Smiley even said that wide open. Dr. Claude Anderson. You know that? Let me tell you, of all the media groups, with all the TV stations, the radio stations, and I mean, there's a whole list, and I just don't have it with me. I mean, I think of all the TV stations, we have about one or two out of 12,000. And out of 12,000 newspapers, I think African Americans only have about two or three. See, like Dr. Claude Anderson said, if you can't communicate, you can't organize. If you can't organize, you can't mobilize. Do you understand me? All the different type of attacks, experiments, and every experimentation and everything that have done on black men and other minority groups, and the way things are, how sick. Just since President-elect Donald Trump won, you have all kind of threats all over America. Just today we have 5 or 6. And to get back to the point of what I'm saying, black men and Spanish men and other minority groups are cleaning off the gun shelter. It's coming in and they're giving it the record numbers. They said they have never seen it like this in America. For fear of what Donald Trump might do. It is truly a dark hour in America. We need prayer like never before. And I'm going to come back to that, but I just want to, I've never thought in places where you see black militia groups growing up and joining in other, from what I understand, communicating with other militia groups. Not to attack anybody, but for safety, for wife and children. Do you understand that how sick and deranged we're becoming? Is this what the founding fathers wanted? How terrible! What an insult! And I want to tell you something else. Dr. King said, he told Harry Belafonte, the superstar, just before he was killed, assassinated. I fear that I've integrated my people into a burning house. My friends, America's just about on fire. Now, it's a fact. Even Stephen Hawking, the noted theoretical physicist, said we are living in the most dangerous times of all in America. Anything can happen. Folks, we need God like never before. Praise God. It's time for us to do a whole lot of praying and give our lives and redirect our faith toward the one and only true God and the Lamb, Jesus Christ. Do you know it has been said, and it's true, it's all over the record books, which they don't teach this in school, especially not the blacks. At the Emancipation Proclamation I'll put it like this way, in 1865, you had over 400,000 free blacks who were just free. When they were giving away millions of acres of land out there in the Midwest, blacks never got one. They were torn loose. This is a fact, barefooted and naked. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm speaking of fact. You never got anything out of it. Nothing. The whole point I'm trying to get to is when they say blacks integrated into nothing. Out of the 400,000 that were freed, they had less than 1/2% of America's wealth. Here we are, over 40 million black Americans, African Americans, and we still have less than 1/2% of America's wealth. We had more wealth and more businesses in the 1920s. We had 10 communities, extra large communities that were Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Wilmington on fire. It's coming out of everything now. What was in the darkness now is coming out of the light. Look at Black Wall Street, Oklahoma, 1921, up to where they just burned and murdered thousands of people. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this. Look, black folks, it's time to wake up, start your own businesses again in your own communities. We went from communities to neighborhoods to hoods. They say Dr. King was so agitated. That's when Dr. King was killed. When he noticed, he told Harry Belafonte, and it's written down, and basically what he was saying is, it takes more than that. Even though it looked like we're integrating, it takes more. I found out that there can be no total integration until there's some economic equality. It takes money. You have Dr. Claude Anderson and numerous Dr. Boyce Watkins, numerous others. But the media, see, black people don't own any media to even talk to yourself. You're not even allowed to have, you won't pool your money to do this. You have to unite, man. Dr. Claude Anderson said, if you can't communicate to your people, you can't organize. This is in case of an emergency. If you can't organize, you can't mobilize. Oversimplification, but that's just what Dr. Claude Anderson said. The leading black economist, one of the leading black economists in America. Yet the media deliberately overlook him, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and all others. We are in trouble here in America. We're losing our country. Even white people, you're losing your country. There's report after report, white are not even reproducing. They're basically in the same shape black for most. You had over one time 188 million whites. Hell, you only had 40 million blacks. Right now, they say there's only 12 million black men that are able to go to war in case of an emergency, that don't have a record or anything. There's not that many black men left. You see black men when you're in a black community or when you're going over. See, despite what Fox and Bill O'Reilly and Rudy Giuliani, that rat, says, nobody in my family were thieves and bums and drug addicts. I'm not saying I don't know any, but nobody in my family. Most of the guys I went to work school with and work with are decent, honest black. But you don't hear anybody say anything about. That's how the media is directed. Integration, or segregation? Which profited black people more? Because there's movement after movement that are saying complete and total separation of the races. You should see it. I'm reading. I'm not saying it. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'll put it this way: in 1965, no, 1967, 72% of all black children were born in a two-parent household. Hell, we even had our own black-owned and operated drugstore. I haven't seen one since I left there, since I left that neighborhood, and that was in the mid-70s. My grandfather had one of the most thriving businesses in New York, in the part of New York I grew up in the late 50s and 60s. You haven't seen anything like that since. You do have businesses, but you own less than, out of all, I think, what did they say? Less than 5% of a total receipts come from black businesses. That's a disgrace. When you go for loans or grants, they're giving to other people. They're not giving it back, because I have relatives who do that, and who used to do that. You know what I mean, right? When you write a grant, a loan, and so they had to keep track of it, and the people that were getting them were everybody but you. That's why you have certain ethnic groups opening up stores in your neighborhood, and you can't. But the Democrats caused a lot of this. You're being replaced by a low-wage workforce, and these people are having a lot of children. So it's time for us to wake up, redo our Black Wall Street. Now, what you think is, what was integration or segregation? I already have my own idea. I'm not going to even express it. Part 2 is coming later. But right now, we can't continue at this pace, because you're not going to survive too much longer. Even though your numbers are dwindling now, if we don't unite and come together, our numbers in America are going to keep right on decreasing. And I'm not a racist. This is just plain old common sense. God bless, folks. This is an extreme emergency. Wake up, America. Let's return to God and get our focus and unite. God bless.